here with the Chief Executive of the PDC, Matt Porter. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to be here.
And we're in Tamworth today for a big PDC announcement of a new partnership. What is that partnership?
So this is PDC in the community with our partners Smart Energy and MORE, where we're rolling out a scheme across the country called Darts on Your Doorstep, and we're going to bring some new life back into grassroots darts facilities, where we can. We know there's a lot of people playing darts from a lot of different backgrounds and communities, and a lot of the time, their equipment maybe over the years has become a little bit run down, or perhaps not been able to be refreshed as often as they might have liked. So with a little bit of help from ourselves, we'll be rolling out facilities like the one you see behind me in a lot of different places. It's really exciting.
And when we see the PDC on TV, we see the best in the world, huge averages, but how important is the grassroots game to the PDC and darts overall as a sport?
I think this shows where we've grown to. The PDC was a closed shop in its early days. It was for the top players in the world, and that was it. And it's not like that anymore. Now we're open to players from anywhere. Wherever you're from, whatever your age is, we've got some darts for you. And we want to create a scenario where somebody can play darts in a venue like here in Drayton Manor and see themselves improving and decide they want to take it a little bit more seriously and make their way into our circuit and climb the ladder like that. Or, to be honest, if they just enjoy playing with their friends and that's their level, as long as they enjoy it, then we're fine with that as well. So the point being, if you pick up a set of darts and you throw them at a dartboard, then we want to have an opportunity for you.
It's been nearly a year now since we saw Luke Littler burst onto the scene at that World Championship. Are you able to measure the impact he has had on the professional game, but also getting people into darts for the first time or after a long break?
Yeah, I think Luke's impact has been with the younger generation, and probably across digital platforms, where he's very strong and that generation, that's how they communicate with each other. So I think, the impact we're seeing from Luke Littler is more amongst exciting teenagers, that darts is something that they should follow or start to play. And if you look at the JDC numbers, you look at the academy numbers, you can certainly see the impact that's had.
Everybody's been talking about Luke Littler the past 12 months, but it's also been the resurgence of Luke Humphries, world champion. He's here in Tamworth. I mean, what impact has he had? Because he is a fantastic ambassador for the sport as the world champion and world number one.
Yeah, Luke is world number one in more than just name. He's obviously an amazing player who's won everything that there is to win over the last year and a bit. But the way he conducts himself, the way he carries himself, the way he represents the sport, not just here but all around the world, wherever we've taken him, has been second to none, and he's a credit to himself, and we're delighted to have him as our flag bearer at the moment.
And we're not far as well tonight from the Grand Slam of Darts draw, one of the premium tournaments in the PDC. There's been talk every year, it seems, about whether the qualification criteria will change for that. Is that something that's been looked at? Because there's Pro Tour winners, Chris Tolbert, for example, he's won 3 titles, yet failed to qualify for the tournament.
There is, but in the same vein, the Pro Tour is a long way down the list of qualification options for the Grand Slam. If you look at the criteria, it starts with the TV events, of which there are a lot, and then moves on to the European Tour. So you could win all 30 Pro Tour events. It's not going to affect your Grand Slam chances. Ultimately the route into the Grand Slam is through those TV tournaments and secondary through the European Tour and then the qualifier. So look, I feel for Chris. He's had a really good year on the Pro Tour, but ultimately that isn't the way into the Grand Slam unless we don't fill all the spaces through the original route. So you can change it to anything you want ultimately, but we've had to make a decision on what we think is right for the Grand Slam. That's the decision that we've come to. Will it always be that way? I don't know. A lot of our tournaments, the formats have evolved over the years, and there's nothing to say that the Grand Slam won't. But for the time being, winning Players' Championship events in themselves is not a guaranteed route into the Grand Slam.
And you mentioned that format's evolved, and one thing we'll see at the start of next year is a brand new rebranded Win-Mal World Masters in the PDC with that return of the set format, first to 2 legs.
Yeah.
I mean, when was that decision taken to, number one, expand the format, but also completely change it back to what it was in the traditional setting?
We've been talking to Win-More about bringing the World Masters back since we first had a relationship with them a couple of years ago. And it was never a cast iron guarantee that we were going to do it, but we always kind of had it in our heads that it was something we really wanted to do, and we knew that Winmore did too. You know, the tournament means a lot to them as a brand and to their ownership family. So it was very, you know, it was very much at the forefront of our thoughts. And we made the decision to make the Masters a ranking event very early on this year. We made the decision to expand it to 32 players very early on this year, but actually we've gone a lot further than that, you know, and with the preliminary rounds there'll now be up to 180 players in it from that Wednesday, and I think that's great because if you look as a secondary tour player and an affiliate tour player of the opportunities that you will have in the first part of the year, you know, with the UK Open qualifiers, with the World Masters preliminary rounds, with Q School, with the Challenge Tour, you know, there's a lot of darts for you in the start of that year, and if you have a good month in January, that could really set you up for the 12 months ahead.
And the PDC gave it the big build-up on social media with a little teaser post. What has the reaction been since announcing the return?
The reaction's been twofold, really. I mean, from people who've been involved in darts a long time or followed darts for a long time, it's been unanimously popular. You know, everybody's delighted to see the brand returning, to see the format returning. And then from people who've perhaps only just started following darts, they don't understand what all the fuss is about, which is absolutely fine.
I mean, that just shows how popular it's been, that you've got so many people who don't understand what the fuss is about because of how many new fans are joining the sport year on year.
Look, you know, there's no rule to say you have to know who the 1982 winner of the Winmore World Masters was to follow darts, you know. So we welcome with open arms people who are new to the sport, and, you know, I don't really care if they don't care what the Winmore World Masters was in its previous iteration, as long as they care what it's like now.
And this year, 2024, we saw two big changes. One, all of the Pro Tours were played midweek, and two, there was a change, quite a big change to the qualification for the European Tour. Now that we've had a full Pro Tour and European Tour season, how do you think that's gone down? Has that been a success in your eyes?
I think so, but, you know, ultimately we'll do what we always do, which is sit down with the PDPA at the end of the year. We have a meeting, you know, actually in a couple of weeks, and we'll analyse it. You know, we've been doing a lot of work in the background on data with players, with where they've been coming from, how often they've been playing, different things on trends of players. So a lot of what we're trying to do now is very data and analytically based, rather than just kind of subjective or instinctive. So you know, we'll be looking at the numbers and we'll sit down and see what changes, if any, we think are worth taking.
I just wanted to mention one last word on the Premier League. I'm not going to ask you to choose any names, but we know that the format is remaining the same. We've seen two surprise major winners this year in Richie Edhouse and Mike De Decker. We've seen Dimitri van den Berg return to the winner's circle. Is this becoming the most difficult selection because there's only 8 players?
It has, but also it's you know, it's wrong to assume that because somebody's won a TV event that they're a certainty. And I don't say that because of Richie Edhouse, Mike De Decker and Dimitri van den Berg, the names you've just referenced. I say that because we have 11 TV events and there's only 8 spots in the Premier League. You know, so ultimately, if you can't, 11 into 8 doesn't go, and it doesn't work like that anyway. You know, we look at it over the course of what you've achieved over the 12 months. And we say, are you ready for the Premier League? Is your game ready for the Premier League? Is your temperament ready for the Premier League? Is your brand ready for the Premier League? You know, you remember the fuss that there was when we left Luke Humphries out the previous year. Well, actually, I think that was probably one of the best decisions that's ever been made for Luke Humphries' career, because if you look at what he's gone on to achieve since then, because he was ready to do so. You know, we left Rob Cross out. He's come back strongly. You know, players in the past like James Wade have been left out, come back strongly. You know, so I think there's more to it than just saying who won a TV tournament. It's as an individual, in the context of what you've achieved over a year, are you ready to be a Premier League player? Because the pressure of playing in front of those crowds week in, week out, the travel that's involved with that, the status that comes with that, is not something that everybody's ready for or everybody relishes. You know, and it's wrong for us just to throw somebody in if it's not the right decision. So we'll make a very considered decision when the time's right. But I will say that as we sit here tonight, there's a lot of spaces wide open for it.
And it used to be the case that it was announced immediately after the World Final. Has it been decided whether it will be like that again?
It won't be announced on the evening of the World Final, no. No, I mean, it won't be long afterwards, but it won't be on the night of the World Final.
Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Cheers.